Welcome. My name is Oliver Gottschalk, Professor of Strategy at HEC School of Management in Paris, and I'm here at the SuperReturn CFO COO Forum in Amsterdam. It's a great pleasure to be with Stian Skrefsrud from FSN Capital to discuss a couple of the key themes about how a private equity firm and its senior management can actively be involved in the value added of the non-investment activities. Stian, thank you very much for being with us today. Clearly, many of the larger private equity shops have gone large ways over the last years to develop very explicit functions with dedicated roles to the value add in the portfolio companies, including some very senior roles. This is more challenging for firms of smaller size. How does a firm like FSN Capital go about this to effectively leverage the talent at the senior level into non-investing activities?
Yeah, I think, Oliver, for us, it's important to have the same functions. So obviously we can't have the size and scale that a bigger firm would have, but we need to have the same type of roles. And so for us, it's important to get a very high type of quality person into those roles, so we can leverage not just internally, but towards the deal teams, towards the portfolio companies, and most also towards managing talent. Because again, being mid-cap, not being able to again have the scale, we need to be very, very precise and specific on the talent that we recruit and how we manage and develop that talent. So for instance, having in our COO, Chief Operating role, we have he sort of the general manager of the company from a day-to-day basis, but more specifically, he handles all the investor relations. He handles all the fundraising, and he also handles all the talent management at all levels, from the associates all the way through to the partner level. So developing specific programs for how to manage, how to follow up, how to develop, how to staff talent, so that we utilize and develop that in the best possible way. And the same for our other functions. For instance, my function, the finance function, which I lead. It's important for us to free as much time as possible from, I wouldn't call them the menial tasks, but the more basic tasks of fund management, accounting, which need to be done properly and need to be done right. We need to free up resources and time to focus on the value add and the portfolio companies, so supporting the portfolio companies and the deal teams directly. So for instance, we try to outsource as many of the activities that we do as possible. Fund administration, basic accounting, both for the funds and for the management companies, and try to focus our controller resources and my own time at working with the deal teams in financing, in due diligence, and working with the portfolio companies to develop the finance functions within the portfolio companies. Because again, as a mid-cap player, usually the nature of the game is we buy companies of a medium size, companies which have probably grown quite a lot, coming from maybe a small base to sort of the medium base very quickly. And in that journey and process which those companies go through, some of the functions internally, and specifically a lot of times the finance functions, won't evolve as rapidly as the company growth has done. So what we need to do is we need to support the CFOs of those companies to shift their focus from being the traditional accountant, bean counter type of person, to a more strategic, commercial and value managing type of CFO, and building structural capital in their base, so that they have a base and systems, procedures, which mimic more the larger size companies, which we will try to transform them to during our ownership.
Very interesting. If you could very roughly describe, what in your specific role in the finance function, what percentage of your time do you actually get to spend with portfolio companies as compared to having the internal role or assisting deal teams in the actual financing of the deal making?
My target is to spend at least 50% of my time working directly with the deal team or portfolio companies, with value creation in the portfolio companies. So coaching CFOs, spend a lot of time during diligence and recruiting, management assessments, that type of tasks. Trying to, and again, when we get a new CFO on board, mentor and guide that CFO to what are the expectations that you will have as a private equity held CFO, which is rather different than you would have in a private company or coming from sort of maybe a family-owned type of business setting. So helping them managing that transition and clarifying what's expected of them is what I try to spend a lot of my time on.
You mentioned outsourcing with respect to, as you described, the more kind of repetitive, less critical task in the finance function to free up your own time. To what extent do you also leverage external service providers, consultants in those more value-added tasks in relationship with the portfolio companies, be it on the HR side, be it on the kind of accounting, financing side?
Well, obviously diligence has a lot of professional support, but from our side, we do external accounting, we do external salary, that type of systems, but we do external IT services, and we do external fund management.
Yep.
But apart from that, we don't do that much. We don't buy that many professional services outside to support our internal functions.
Yep.
We did that in the past, especially on the legal side.
Yep.
But as of this year, we've brought on board our own general counsel, again strengthening the team to build scale internally to as we grow as well. So that would be the only part where we've done that.
If we were to fast forward for 5 to 10 years and imagine FSN scaling up in doubling, quadrupling in size, what would be the most critical addition in terms of very senior resources that you would think you would need to bring in order to prepare for that further expansion and growth?
Yeah, I think that's actually something we're already looking at, because what we try to do is we try to invest in our human capital up-front as we grow, so preempt growth, so to speak. And I think we need to free up time, especially on the COO side, so split that role, so to have a dedicated talent management HR type of person. We need to strengthen the investor relation team as we grow in fund size, or maybe the number of funds and the type of funds that we have. And we also obviously need to strengthen the finance team. So we need to strengthen our senior controller type of team so that they can have more people playing the same type of role that I play towards the portfolio companies.
Very interesting. Well, you clearly have been on top of these things and been going about this in a very structured way to see you're set up to support the portfolio companies. In maybe looking at other firms who are still somewhere on this trajectory, any lessons learned that you would want to share with them?
I think again, you need to commit to the journey, or what you want to call it, and you need to invest in building this structure up front so that the type of quality and the type of resource that you bring on board, the number of resources, need to be aligned with what you want to be, how big you want to be in the future, not necessarily how big you are at the moment. So it might be overkill right now, but when your next fund comes along, it's probably the right type of team. And it's important to have a track record for that team when you come into the next fund size.
Very interesting. Stian, thank you very much for your comments today. All the best at the conference. Bye-bye.
Thank you.